Are you one of the 75% of contractors whose financial statements are inaccurate? Find out. Click on the link in the show notes and you'll get a free P&L and balance sheet check.
This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Get the business tool that helps you grow profitably, build wealth, and significantly impact your life and the lives of your employee. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you. Are you one of the estimated 91% of the people in the construction industry who feel overwhelmed? Obviously, you're not alone if you do. So what can you do to get rid of overwhelmed? My guest, Michael Pink, CEO of Smart PM, will give you some suggestions to decrease your feelings of overwhelm and increase your productivity. Michael, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Thank you so much, Ruth. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, we don't often talk about being overwhelmed because most, as you said in your research that you've done, most of the people in this industry are overwhelmed, but nobody talks about it. And when I got this from your PR person, I was like, yes, we need to talk about this. So I'm excited to have you. Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So talk about how you found out, whatever, that 91% of our industry is in a state of overwhelm.
Well, I think it all goes back to when I entered into the industry. I wasn't planning on getting into construction. I was an industrial engineer, and my first job was at a consulting company, large organization, KPMG, and I was working in their construction division. I wasn't exactly 100% sure what I was going to be doing, but they hired me because of my background. And, it was interesting because I started realizing that it was a little chaotic construction. We were
That's an understatement.
Yeah, well, we were hired to do a lot of dispute work, and that was, understanding why disputes were there. But ultimately, I was walking into a lot of situations where projects had taken too long and were over budget, and it was a little chaotic, was my first take. Was a lot of this information's everywhere, and for me to go understand, how did this project end up here, I needed to go find a lot of data and restructure it and analyze it. And then I also had to interact with the people in who are boots on the ground, as well as people who were back at the home offices of, owners and contractors. But there was just this, I could tell this sense of, I guess stress was a big one, and anxiety and anger that was embedded into the culture of this industry that I couldn't I couldn't really avoid, and I couldn't not see it. And it just seems strange that an entire industry has this type of persona embedded within it that seems to be highly capable but highly frustrated. And a lot of times I saw people that they had changed personally. Like one of my bosses early on wasn't the nicest boss, and he didn't get along with too many people, and he told me that construction turned him into that. That was his words. And I'm like, well, wait a second, how did that happen? How did you change from an industry? And then started going to events, trade shows, and you'd notice that, at some trade shows unrelated to construction, there was this, energy in the room and excitement. And at the construction ones, it was this, almost seemed depressive state. And it really just piqued my interest. You could just see it in the people sitting in the meetings, having the discussions, that there was a level of anxiety that, was in the room that wasn't normal to what, the rest of my life was, and in the rest of the groups that I had been around. And this industry, as great as it is, it also takes its toll on people mentally. So that was interesting to me. So having researched it, having studied the problems, having worked on fixing problems, having met, thousands upon thousands of people and interviewed them. Yeah, we realized that this industry has an amount of stress that is unparalleled to most others.
Yeah. So you decided you've spotted an opportunity and let's help fix it.
Right, right. My goal was, obviously originally a financial, incentive goal
Sure.
was to help companies keep projects on track and on budget. But as more I studied it, that problem has issues that really, affect the people as well. And that's to me, even more beneficial is to be doing work that can, solve problems to help organizations be better and more profitable. But at the same time, when it goes down to the people in the business actually getting more value out of their day and living the life that they want to live and not being stressed out in the process is only, the cherry on top, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we look at productivity in this industry as being one of the absolute critical measures of profitability. I mean, if you've got a guy you're paying for, 40 hours a week and he's only productive, i.e. billable, 20, we have a problem there. And I mean, there's a lot of stress with relationship to that part of it too.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of stress in terms of how much people can get done every day, how much projects progress, challenges that they're facing, how to communicate and collaborate effectively, with the various parties involved in construction to, positively influence the job and do that well. And not having things ever seem to go as planned, and having fires to put out all the time with, pretty slim groups of people that are helping assist because of, competitive bidding, so there's a lot of
There's a
things
lot of
that
it.
go
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we look at it as an industry. I mean, it's fun, it's challenging, and all those sort of things that go along with it. But the reality of it is people make it work. So we got to make it so that people are not totally overwhelmed. So I think after the break, we'll talk about some of the things that you can do to feel quote unquote less overwhelmed and some of the things you can do to resolve the situation. But before we go to break, Michael, if somebody wants to talk to you about this situation or about how to, get less overwhelmed, where do they contact you?
Oh, well, they can contact me through email.
Okay.
Our company is called Smart PM Technologies. My email is mpink, mpink, at smartpmtech.com.
Very good. All right. Thank you. We will take a quick break and we will be right back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, I can't, are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today. We're back. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. I'm speaking with Michael Pink, and we're going to talk about different strategies, ways that you can feel less overwhelmed, enjoy your, working with your guys and ladies more, and enjoy, the business that much more rather than having the business stress you out. So, Michael, the floor is yours. So, give us the
Sure.
first idea of
Well,
what they can do first.
well, I think that having done what I've done, I think that, I've looked at the industry, inside and out from beginning to end on projects and looked at organizations and some of the breakdowns that I saw. I mean, I think the first major breakdown is how people in construction need to competitively bid in a world that there's differences in how they manage, right? I think
Mhm.
one of the things that exists is the larger organization, sort of set the precedent on pricing but they have all sorts of abilities to analyze, performance and risk,
Sure.
and I call that project controls, starting with the schedule and then getting into cost and risk analysis, and then doing monitoring and reporting so that everybody is on the same page. That's a process that you'd be surprised exists on only, within only 5% of construction companies actually have project controls teams and processes. And the scheduling piece is part of that. So when you're putting together a plan and executing upon that plan, a lot of the organizations that don't have enough understanding of project controls and scheduling, as well as processes in place to understand performance for what it is, they're at risk of not seeing the bigger picture, and issues mounting to a point of stress that's almost unbearable. So for the companies out there that are in the market, the only way you're going to deliver upon the tight budget that most projects get put on is to have a very well a seasoned scheduler or project managers who understand scheduling, the ins and outs and best practices of it. And that to me is problem number one, is getting a tight schedule that's actually worthy of managing a job. And having studied a few 100,000 of them, about, I think the number's 88% are not up to snuff to be telling you what you need to know to be managing effectively. So that's number one, is I think that everybody needs to get better at understanding best practices and scheduling.
Yeah.
And then
wait.
scheduling.
Let me make a
Sure.
comment about that before we go further. Even though you may have a job that takes a day or 2 days, it still says that you should schedule it. You should know exactly what's coming in. You should know exactly what's supposed to be happening, and it needs to be communicated well to the people who will actually be performing the work. Doesn't matter whether it's a 2-year job or a 2-day job. The process is the same. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and I would say, on top of that, I think that, there's differences in managing a smaller job versus a bigger job, but the bigger the job gets, the harder it is to kind of wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
And that's where, it's even more important on the larger, we're talking 5-10 million plus up to billions, to have a very good process in place. And, the real issue there is that project managers need to understand it and need to trust the data to make decisions. And if the schedule is not built, using best practices, it becomes very misleading, and it tells you things that are, important, critical, near critical to get done that may not be. And then things have float that may not have float. And this is the beginning of that issue, is that you're focused in the wrong places, putting high priority in areas that may not actually be driving the job. But you're believing it. And as things don't go as planned, you're starting to blame issues and try to fix those issues that may not be the true issues that are, pushing this job out. And that's, to me, was area number one, is most of the industry doesn't understand that these tools, Microsoft Project, Primavera, and any other CPM scheduling tool, they come with a set of criteria that you need to follow. They don't actually come with it. You need to have an understanding of the criteria that you need to follow to ensure that that schedule is telling you the right things, and that, as you navigate through challenges, which ones are important to fix now versus things that have a little bit of room to get to later, with certainty. And that is broken. And I think that's the beginning of it all. And then schedules become compressed, and decisions are made to shorten durations and stack trades. And then, on top of that, the updating process is managed more with hope, that ultimately derails the job completely, by creating infeasible plans. So you need to have a level of analytics, right? That's where project controls comes in, is analyzing the schedule data in a manner that those programs don't allow you to, which traditionally was done manually and does require expertise. But now, that's the problem we're working on, is how do we take this data that exists, how do we give them a path to building, schedules that are worthy of managing a job, and educate them why this is important, And then how do we give them analytics that tell them how they're performing and what we've learned today in the last, say 3 months of a job and what that means for the future, and which issues do we need to resolve that will become problems down the road if we don't fix it now. And that's what we need to bring forth and bring up to, a level of understanding to project management as well as executives, because that visibility is important. This is a very complex industry with a lot of challenges. It's only better the more people who understand project performance for what it is and risk for what it is to actually make decisions ahead of time that will constructively influence the outcome.
Very good. All right. Give us the website where they can reach you, where they can contact you again.
Yeah, sure. It's www.smartpmtech.com.
TECH, right?
TECH, yes.
Okay, cool. Well, Michael, we're about to run out of time, so appreciate, obviously get the schedules done, make sure it's there. That will help get rid of some of the overwhelm, and we keep going. And just by the fact that you are aware of it and pay attention to it will by itself help decrease overwhelm, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that if you can get ahead of the curve and start to understand the writing on the wall, I mean, that's the thing that most people can't do, is look at everything everywhere and know what matters and know what doesn't, and have, certainty in their opinion of that, and agree to it with somebody else. And that's where the analytics comes in. It's, we just aren't wired to do that math instantaneously. And that's where
No,
technology comes
definitely
in.
not.
But we've seen it work. We've seen it change the lives of projects, change the relationships amongst the people, result in better outcomes, and people saying that they're able to leave on time just because they're not running around like crazy, chaotic situation, because they can see the writing on the wall, and the information starts to be disseminated at a level that they can understand, and it's accurate. And that to me is how you leverage project controls to get to that place where things run smoothly.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for having me.
My pleasure. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable